Good evening. Welcome to City of Paris Planning Commission for March 17th. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Jimenez,
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Present.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Here.
Chair Shively.
Present. We could have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Hernandez. Commissioner Hernandez?
Sorry, there I had to grab a little one. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving to item 6, there is no presentation at this time. Planning Commissioner meetings for March 3rd. Any errors and omissions that we need to fix? Commissioner Hernandez?
No, nothing on my end.
Jimenez?
Nothing on my end.
No, it's fine.
Okay. If we can have a motion and if we can make it verbal, please.
Commissioner Hammond voting in favor.
Commissioner Jimenez, second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. If we can move to item 7B, as of this time, we will be switching 7A until the owner is present. So we'd be working for 7B, which is Development Plan Review, DPR 17-00008. It's a mitigation negative declaration. EMD 2349. It's a proposal to construct 3 buildings, one with an estimated 3,000 square foot retail office space for dispensing cannabis, and 2 estimated at 15,000 square feet each for cannabis cultivation and processing, totaling approximately 33,000 square feet on 2.61 acres located on the north side of Malbert Street, west of Goetz Road. And the applicant is Kevin Fox from Colorado West Construction. Do we have any ex parte communications?
Drove by the site.
Commissioner Hernandez? Any ex parte communication?
Yes, I drive by the site.
Okay,
Yes, Commissioner Hammond, drive by the site.
okay. Thank you. If we can have the presentation, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is Kathy Perring. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll share my screen. This project, DPR 17-00008, is the Regional Compassionate Center, which is 3 buildings located on 2.6 acres on the north side of Malbert Street. And my keyboard's working. There we go. So as you can see, the site is vacant, as are the sites across the street to the south and to the west. There are vacant lots. To the east are 4 industrial buildings on a single lot, and to the north is a salvage yard sort of facility. The entire area is zoned general industrial. These photographs, the first is a view to the east of the industrial buildings and then along Malbert Street to the east. And this is the north kind of salvage yard area and buildings beyond, and then the view to the west where you can also see another building a little further down the street. With respect to the site plan, the 3 buildings, A, B, and C. Building A is located adjacent to the street. It's the 3,000 square foot building, and it is proposed to be the dispensary, retail facility with a couple of offices and the security room. And then the 2 buildings in the rear of the property are 15,000 square feet each and will provide space for the cannabis cultivation and any processing that's done related to the cultivation, and you work with that. With respect to the site plan itself, there are 2 driveways on Malbert. The one at the lower side of your screen, which is actually the west side of the property, is an emergency access only. It's been conditioned to be gated up around building A near the street. And the other driveway at the top of the site plan is the public access, if you will, to the dispensary, and all the loading vans, et cetera, would enter and exit there. And it will be gated back far enough that all the dispensary related parking spaces will be out front, in front of the gate, and then probably right around the corner of building B, there will be a gate that will also be in place for security. The fencing all the way around the building is proposed to be 8 feet tall, chain link with privacy slats. The area immediately behind the dispensary, right here, is proposed to be fenced and gated as well, and there are Knox boxes on all gates. The site is landscaped, as you can see, primarily in the front and in all of the public access and parking areas, which are here. These are the operations that are proposed related to the cannabis facility. Again, we're just working with the buildings and the environmental document tonight, but for your information, they intend to operate the dispensary from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily. There'll be approximately 12 employees and up to 30 customers at any peak hour on the site in all 3 buildings, and for the employees, all 3 buildings. And then deliveries and shipments, about 1 or 2 per hour, no outdoor cultivation of any kind, and their security and surveillance systems will be in place per the permitting requirement. Okay, with respect to our development and conditions here and requirements, for criteria, they meet all of the lot coverage, FAR, height restrictions, setbacks, et cetera, and the parking that they are providing is 90 spaces. There was a parking study done, which is presented in your staff report, and it was done in 3 different scenarios, and the most parking for any kind of a use that is allowed in this zone would be maximum of needed of 43. So they're well beyond their parking requirement, and they also meet the 10% landscape requirement by providing 10.3% landscaping on the site. This is our rendering view of the customer side of the buildings. Staff worked with the applicant to put in some green screens on the front building to break up that wall. And as you can see, it will be landscaped, although there'll be trees, which are not appearing here, along the street and gates. Elevations of Building A. Elevations of Building B. So on the east side of the building, there are doors only for people. On the west side is where all the roll-up delivery doors are. There are no dock-high doors in this facility. And Building C, same elevations. So staff recommends that you adopt resolution number 21-2 to adopt mitigated negative declaration 2349 and approve development plan review 17-00008 to construct the 3 buildings totaling 33,000 square feet on 2.6 acres land on the north side of Malbert Street for the purpose of a dispensary and other cannabis cultivation uses, and subject to the conditions of approval. Happy to answer any questions, and I believe there's an applicant representative, Mr. Dan Stacy is present, so he can also answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? Kathy, can you please pull up the site plan?
Yes.
Feel free to ask questions. Commissioner,
No. It's more that I think I have a question for the developer
Okay.
concerning the fence, so. At this point, I don't see anything as yet.
I do have a question real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So Kathy, you clarified, if you can re-clarify that the fence, perimeter fence will be chain link with screening?
Well, that's what.
Yes, it will be around the perimeter here. Can you see my cursor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then the gate for the emergency access runs along here, and it will be up here toward the across from the fence to Building A. The fence over here on this side will be over here somewhere in this front quadrant to Building B, allowing enough of these parking spaces to easily accommodate those that would be visiting the dispensary.
Is there another fence between Building A and B? Along the
Correct. There's a
sidewalk?
smaller
Okay.
wrought iron gated fence that secures the rear of this building for access and delivery for personnel.
When you were going over the plans with them, Kathy, I made a note that you asked them to do the green screen only in the front building. Is there a reason why? Was it suggested to be added to the other ones, or was it just suggested for the
No,
front one?
what the greens, there'll be a gate here that doesn't allow basically for the general public to come back here. This will just be employees and delivery vehicles primarily on this site, but we did not ask for them on these buildings at this time, but certainly we just
And-
talked to them about doing, they put it here and here on this building.
Okay, and then you said the outer fence is chain link, but all the other ones are wrought iron?
The exterior fence is chain link 8 feet with the privacy slats, so it's it's not just an open chain link fence.
Right, but the other ones are metal?
This one right here is proposed to be a 6-foot tall wrought iron kind of.
And how about the one going from Building B towards the top of the screen?
These gates I would assume will be 8 feet tall, although I don't believe the condition specifies what material they're making out of, just that they're 8 feet.
Okay.
Hernandez.
But the location of it, of that second gate in the property along the entryway and the property between A and B, those are 6 feet, correct?
This one is 6 feet. The fencing that's right here, there's a fence here, and then this side over here has the gate.
Okay, and the trash enclosure is located inside that gate?
No,
Trash enclosure is located right outside that gate?
right outside the gate.
But the trash truck has to drive all the way around to get to the waste bin?
Correct, and you'll notice there is a condition of approval to provide waste bin location for these other 2 buildings.
Okay.
And we may work with them to suggest relocating this one as well over to this side so that the trash trucks are only, coming in and going out here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any questions for staff?
No questions for me.
Any further questions for staff?
No more, thank you.
Does the applicant at this time wish to make a presentation?
Hello, hi. Nothing new. Everything the same as Kathy has laid out for you. My name is Daniel Madrix. I'm representing the principals on the project.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
you didn't pop up on our screen, sorry.
Oh, can you see me now?
Yes,
Oh, sorry. I just trying to make sure I'm visible enough for you. Yes. So basically, everything that the city would like, we would love to work with you to make sure that happens.
okay. Do you have questions for the applicant?
Unless you have one first, because you know where I'm going. It's a fence.
Take it away.
Yeah. Overall, I think and I'm glad that the city met all the requirements, as I don't have any questions for them this time. I'm concerned about chain link fences with metal nuts. That's the first thing that popped up, and that's like anathema to me. It sounds good, but they wear out after a while. I don't know why you would choose a chain link fence with that, even though they can try to look, but I'm not sure why you didn't have a wrought iron fence or even something capped. I can understand there's a cost in if you had blocks, but at least a wrought iron fence would be better to me. We see fences like that and they just rot away. I don't care what developers say, they rot away after a while. So I'm just concerned we're willing to at least have some consideration for that around. It's the 7-foot fence, I believe it was 7 feet.
8 feet.
8 feet all the way around.
If I can interject real fast. Kenneth, I know we're not approving for cannabis related right now, or not at all for us. Is there a restriction for perimeter fences cannot show visibility what's occurring on the property?
There's no specific condition against visibility. For cultivation, they're typically secured, that usually do it all inside the building, so you don't see into the facility. So there's no specific condition that requires
They
that.
just can't see what's going on inside the building?
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, because the only reason I didn't ask that is because the type of buildings here, unlike the greenhouse, where you had the tent and that kind of, this is more like your traditional business park type outer. But I was more concerned with that, and I'm just bringing it to the commissioners. I just really don't like that kind of fence lattice. That's probably a minor compared to everything else, but if there's a way to consider it, I thought it was 7 feet around, but if it's 8 feet around, the standard wrought iron to me is just better. That's something I want to bring up, and that's probably the only question I have. I think everything else has been met, even though we did say 10% landscaping. I'll leave that to my other colleague, but that is a concern. I'd like you to at least try to address that one if we can't, at least have some discussion about that.
I'm trying to find some areas that could possibly explore a little bit of landscaping, but
Yeah, I just want to clarify regarding the chain link fence. In this area of the city, a lot of these buildings out there do have chain link, but a lot of them do have wrought iron in front of the building. So typically the first 50 feet, 75 feet is wrought iron, even in the older buildings. So that's just, I just want to give you that as the context of what's going on in this area.
Yeah, years ago, even before I was on this, which is hard to believe, anything happened before I was on here. You know, chain link, even residential chain link is not allowed. But when you have chain link, sure, and we have in between properties, but those are existing ones that have been there. Wow, we're talking about something that needs protection and needs to have some kind of look to it, and I just don't like that, and I'm surprised to see that. I think wrought iron just lasts longer, and it's just better, and it's more secure. You can pull out laps and cut chain link. So you want some security too. And that's why it's not just a question of looks, it's also security. And if it's 8 feet high, you will have security if it's wrought iron. So that's more of the issue to me. But that's a perimeter issue that I think is important. And that was it. I'll leave the landscaping to you.
I'm going to add to that because, the slats, the privacy slats, those break. So the chain link kind of bends down, warps, gets ugly. Those slats break, and it's a really bad eyesore. And I understand that's what's around. I think those buildings have been around longer, and I think with this commission, we've really talked about setting the precedents for what's going to come and develop in that area in the future.
Yeah.
I was also very surprised to see chain link as the perimeter, not just because of the concern for safety, but just it's a new building that's up and coming. Mm-hmm. I like the green, what was it called? What did they call it?
Green screen?
The green screen on the first one. Mm-hmm. The building B and C look very, very bland on that one side where it's just flat. So anything we can add on there, maybe a little bit more green screen, maybe some of this other material that is presented here, just to give it a little bit more of aesthetic. I know it's not completely visible to the street, but it's still going to have some visibility. Also, we did ask for 10% minimum for landscaping. 10.3 is kind of like here. We did more at the end. And I know some of those areas you can't really see or access. Maybe adding a little bit more to the front around building A, maybe some trellises, something, just to give it a little bit more landscaping and making it a little bit more nature oriented, kind of breaking up the aesthetic of it. So it's not just concrete.
This is Kathy, and one of the things that the conditions talk about is there would not be a need for, when we finally decided with engineering on where the fence needed to be for this emergency access across here, these 5 parking spaces that were, I think, originally intended for people that might be coming to the dispensary, they're not going to be needed for that. So we can take some of these parking stalls and change them into landscaping, so there'll be some more landscaping around this front building at least.
if you're going to do that, is it potentially that you could put some bench out there for employees?
A bench
Yeah.
for employees?
Mhm.
I don't know. That's not my call, but
It would be nice to have like an outdoor area. I always think about when I worked inside a building and I'm inside a building all day. Sometimes I just wanted to go outside, sit underneath the tree, get some sun, or sit in the shade, but at least be out in nature. There's a lot of parking spaces, which I really appreciate because that is one of the things that I really look for. But I also want to see maybe on the top left-hand corner, having like a little, almost like a little retreat area where there's a little bit more green. Maybe some benches or like an outdoor break area for the employees. What is that, north, west?
Yeah, building. Yeah.
up in here,
by
is this,
building
is this
C.
the area you're talking about?
Right, like that little corner there.
I mean, if the applicant's willing, we can work with them on a bench a couple places so the employees could have a place to sit outside.
Yeah, well, I don't see why not.
Okay,
We would
Thank
definitely be
you.
willing to work with you to come up with something that works.
Thank you. For me?
That's it for you? Then, Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Hernandez?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna word my question. So I guess one of my concerns is, the facility. It'll also include a dispensary. So I know, let's see, probably a mile and a half from there. There's residential parks, and then there's also the large Green Valley as well. That's gonna include a bunch of parks and outdoor areas. I'm just curious on how, I don't want to see individuals, going to dispensary and then going to parks and smoking. So I'm just curious, on how that's going to be, I don't know, looked at in that area, if that's going to, increase it. But yeah, I guess it's more of a thought than to myself. I really don't know how to ask the question. I don't know, but yeah, that's all I got. My input.
Yeah, I just want to reference that what we're approving tonight is really just an industrial building. Those cannabis or dispensary, those are under a separate permit. That jurisdiction is within a permitting process, and this zone allows that.
For the building?
Yeah, so it's already permitted in these areas. So what we're trying to look at is just the building in theory. And we're just kind of making sure that the menus are correct, the architecture looks good. So just want to make sure that we're just focusing on the building because those are under a separate approval that gets approved through a separate permit process.
I do have one more question. The gate that's going from building B up towards, the top of the screen. So potential clients would not be allowed to park back there? That would be closed at all times? Or would they have access to parking
I
there?
assume except when employees are coming or going or deliveries or things are happening, it would have to be open. But this would be what we're looking at as direct customer parking for this.
Okay.
But
And
you're
I-
asking if
Right.
just anybody could drive wherever they wanted back here? Is that
Right.
what you're asking?
Yes.
You may want to have the applicant respond to
that's
that
what I
question as well.
Yes, patients and/or customers will not be permitted in building C or B or anywhere near them. Only escorted and approved guests or personnel will have access to those buildings. Anybody who's a potential customer or patient will only really be participating in building A.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely.
Kathy, one question for you. Is there a landscaping setback requirement on this property?
Yes. And I believe, which I noticed when I actually put the presentation together, I may have had a typo. No, in your, it may not be entirely clear, but the requirement for a 24-foot tall building would be 15 feet. And at 10 feet for the first 20 feet of height and then 5 feet after that for the next 10. So this is over almost 23 feet setback. So yes.
Okay. What about landscaping?
What about
Is
the
there a
required
landscape-
amount of landscaping?
Landscaping setback.
Yeah, that's
what
the
it is.
setback for the building has to be landscaped.
Okay. And nothing on the side?
No, the sidelines can be
0?
0. Yeah, there's no minimum setback.
Okay. Right. With no further questions for the applicant. Is there any member of public wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment and move it for planning commissioners' discussions. Commissioner Hernandez?
Nothing on my end.
Commissioner Jimenez?
I guess my main concerns would be that the trash cans are on that side of the building, and that's the emergency entrance and exit. So if there's an emergency and the trash truck is there, it's, you
Right.
know, the odds of that happening are very unlikely, but
Right, but,
they do exist.
okay.
Just the landscaping, not the landscaping, but kind of the architecture or, you know, aesthetics of the B and C buildings where they're just very bland, especially compared to building A that has the green screen and the stones.
We can work with the applicant on some additional treatment to those buildings on their sides, colors or materials or a green screen or something.
And I don't want to take everybody's, but I also, the chain link fence. The colors are okay. Like they're not, I think I would have liked to ask the applicant or whoever chose those colors why they went with a brown palette. I like the bronze baked enamel. I like the stone color. I like the glass and the storefront, but that, what is it, sand beach
Yeah.
and oak barrel are, like, I feel like some are the bronze side, some are more on the orange side, and I don't know if they go well together.
Strange.
We'd like the staff to work with the applicant.
Yeah,
to-
so if staff
yeah.
would work with the applicants to kind of align more with the color trends we've seen and approve with some of the other projects that have come up, so leaning more towards like a grayer. I think that would also help with, once you add the landscaping and maybe a little bit more detail, with not making it so just concrete heavy.
Okay,
Commissioner
Oh,
Hammond?
yeah, I agree. I think she stole the thunder. Yeah, you're good. You're good. I do want to commend staff for answering a lot of questions that we've been beating them up for the last 3 or 4. So I didn't have to deal with 20-foot wide aisleways. But and the developer for putting that in advance. So that's why I don't have a lot of questions, and that's very unusual. But I do agree with the, my main thing is the fence, that we really need to change that. Put the resources into a wrought iron, that's possible. And the architecture I leave to staff and them, because I don't have a problem with that. And I think you mentioned too about bench. I think there is a, in the building A, there's like a break room, but it's not the same as being outside if you just had a place to sit. So obviously on a spring day, it'll be coming up. You want to just sit out there. But I commend staff for doing the work and getting this one together. That area is notorious for just kind of being off to the rails, and that kind of on literally because it's right close to the Orange Railway, but kind of off to the side. And you didn't really notice it. Now you're getting activity over there. But I think one of the things we're pushing is a higher level of architectural, and not just the plain, oh, we'll just do whatever has happened in the past. You can forget that. In fact, you can forget chain link fences, period. But I think the idea is that more of this is starting to upgrade and sort of bring it to a level where it's going to have some aesthetic beauty, which is in our purview. And so if you have aesthetic beauty, you have something, even if it's something, a project. The good thing about this project, too, I think, is, God forbid, if something happened to the marijuana dispensary and they decide to move on, you still have buildings that could be used for other purposes. So still could be small business or some kind of light industrial project. So it kind of has a, not saying they're going to go out, but it has those potential things from light industrial where it's not totally something that if you leave, then you've got to take down greenhouse, you have to do all that. So this is kind of a multifaceted project that's potential to have that. And I think, oh yeah, because with us. So in that way, it's well done. I think overall, it's no real issues with it, because I'm glad they have the lane, and we did something about the turnabout, because if that person's coming in, they shouldn't have to go all the way around. They'd have to go through building and C, all the way around building C to come out. That doesn't really jive and make any sense. However, if you're going to do the trash enclosure, they would have to go all the way through to come to that side to go out, and then they'd have to go back around the other side. So as it stands now, it almost would have to be, unless that person's going to have a knot box. I don't think you're going to see a knot. So that is kind of one of those issues that probably needs to be looked at because it's way on the other side. Now we're not talking. Yeah, it's quite a drive. They would have to go, and they'd have to go back around. Yeah, you don't. I mean, that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if there's enough width to try to be squeezing between building B and C, but that would be able to go all the way back around or come out that way, and no one's going to stand there and just let them out. So that's probably needs to be looked at. Yeah, but I think that's something staff can work with them on. But I'm glad you caught that because it's showing right outside Building A over there. That's kind of yeah. Other than that, my only question, I don't know if I should ask this question, really, I didn't think of it before. I think it's 67 of 119. There's a parking analysis, land uses personnel. Maybe I'm just being kind of slow tonight on this one. We're saying scenario 1, warehousing 90 spaces. Then we're saying scenario 2, 90 spaces. Then we're saying scenario 3. What does that mean? So we're saying one of the 3 scenarios we're going to do, and if you add another one, that has to have 90 spaces, and you have, what
No.
does this mean?
No, the 90 spaces is what's provided.
Yeah.
And those would be, it was just looking at different possible uses for this site, just as you explained a moment ago. If this were not cannabis, maybe it would be a warehouse, and the warehouse would take, sorry, I don't have that right up. It would, if it were a traditional kind of warehousing, it might take 38 spaces. They've provided 90. If it were a nursery under our typical zoning, which is sort of similar to the cannabis use, they're growing there, it's 36 spaces, but it's not additive. Those are just looking at different options for what the buildings might be used as. So there's plenty of parking, and if, separate users lease these buildings, there would be parking associated with each of them. So I think it works well.
Okay, I guess what got thrown off was under warehousing, it also has dispensary. So I think that's probably where I got 1,613 square feet under the warehouse scenario also had dispensary. So that would probably be something, that's probably where I got thrown off. If there's dispensary there, then it dispensary and a nursery.
Right. This was always assumed to be either a dispensary, like a more traditional retail use out here in front, and these would be looked at as either warehouse or a nursery.
Oh, okay, or a nursery. Okay, 90 spaces is what they're provided anyway. That's the total.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if you exclude those, I shouldn't be asking questions now anyway. No. Because they just took off 6 spaces around Building A, so I don't know if that would take the number down.
They have plenty of spaces. If we lose some of these up here, it won't be
It's
problematic.
like 6 spaces there, right? So I think that would be, Okay, so it'll be,
5,
We're covered.
okay, they still have 84. Yeah, okay. I'm good.
I don't have much to say. You guys covered pretty much everything. I'm definitely in agreement with the perimeter fence. Being chain link is not something that I would think I could approve. One for the longevity of the flats and longevity of the fence. Chain link fence can last a long time, but they're very not the greatest things to look at. Steel tube fence would definitely look good and last just as long as the chain link fence, and can be painted over and over again if need be, for maintenance reasons. So I don't have any negative comments about the project. I think the architecture is okay, and I think it suits what the project will be. So If there's no further comments, if we can go ahead and have a motion with the inclusion of staff working with the applicant on the color, staff working with the applicant on the fence.
And then I also have some also working with them on enhancing the architecture of the elevations of buildings B and C, and moving the trash receptacle, as well as adding trash receptacles, and then the benches or some sort of an outdoor area for employees to sit.
Yes. Thank you, Kathy.
That's good. That's all of them, right? Okay. Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
As Commissioner Hammond.
Got a motion from Commissioner Hammond.
Commissioner Jimenez, second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can move back to item 7A, the Development Plan Review 18-00012, continuation from March 3rd, 2021. It's a proposal to construct a 7,080 square foot, two-story industrial building, first and second story, 3,540 square feet, with an attached 86 square foot utility room, 3 greenhouses totaling 13,000 square feet, located at 1261 West Oleander Avenue within the light industrial zone of the Paris Valley Commerce Center Pacific Plan. The proposal is for the purpose of establishing a cannabis cultivation business. Applicant is Ellie Taj. Do we have ex parte communications? It's last week.
Yeah, just the previous one by going to the site. Commissioner Hammond, sorry.
Commissioner Jimenez, same. Drove by the site, same as it was last time.
Okay.
Nothing on my end. Hernandez.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, if we can have the presentation.
What is the text people? You need some coffee back there.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Sorry about that. Yes, thank you, Chair, and good evening to the Planning Commissioners. The presentation we have before you this evening is the continuation from the Planning Commission meeting from March 3rd. Before I begin, I just wanted to reorient everyone to the location of the project site. The parcel is located just south of Oleander Avenue, just west of Patterson Avenue, and east of Wade Avenue. Brief background, as mentioned, on March 3rd, 2021, the Planning Commission voted to continue the Oleander Industrial Project to clarify issues with the plans. The revised plans were modified and submitted reflecting the following. Over 13% of the site is landscape, which exceeds the 12% minimum landscape requirement as noted in the PVCC. The 26-foot driveway meets city standards and allows a 20-foot turning radius for fire trucks within the 26-foot driveway. The 214 square foot office is located on the ground floor or first floor, with the rest of the building being dedicated to warehouse or open space, if you will. And with that, the required 21 parking spaces are provided on site. And here is the floor plan. What you see hatched is the proposed office area with a all-gender restroom. And as you can see, the entire floor plan is left open for just storage. In addition, in response to Planning Commission's discussions, the following conditions of approval were revised. Planning Condition number 33 was to add a frost tint to the proposed greenhouse glass to minimize visibility. Planning Condition number 34 was to add an outdoor employee amenity in the form of an outdoor trellis cover with seating. Planning Condition number 35 was to work with staff and updated a new color palette, including gray tones. Planning Condition number 14 was to include language related to the 1-year landscape maintenance period identified in the Public Works Condition of Approval number 4. And building Condition number 7 was to update to specify that the elevator will comply with ADA and the Title 24 access requirements. And here before you is the revised site plan and landscaping. The elevation rendering. Now this elevation rendering was from the previous rendering, but as conditioned and stated, staff will work with the applicant on a new gray tone color palette. That said, staff's recommendation this evening is for the Planning Commission to adopt PC Resolution 21-01, finding that the project is categorically exempt for infill development and approving Development Plan Review 18-00012 to facilitate the construction of a 7,080 square foot industrial building and greenhouse accessory structures totaling 13,000 square feet located at 1,261 Wade Avenue, based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. This evening, we also have Mr. Brian Carter, who is the owner and applicant representative as well, owner Ms. Ellie, and project representative Ms. Daniel Pop this evening to expand and clarify any additional comments that the commission may have. Thank you.
Commissioner Hernandez, do you have questions for staff?
No.
Commissioner Jimenez?
So I noticed on the plans that there is some chain link fence in the back. Let me see, is that the back? It's the front, it's chain link fence right across the front by a gravel road. Were they gonna, number one, pave that? And I would like to see where that chain link fence would be.
At this moment, there is chain link fence surrounding the property to not allow people to illegally dump. The applicant did provide street improvement plans for Oleander. Perhaps Mr. Porcazimi could expand upon that if Ms. Jimenez has further questions on that portion. The project will have a block wall,
I
if you
remember
will.
seeing that in the back, but
Yeah.
it just popped out at me that there's chain link in the front, which is
Yeah, that's just to show the existing condition. There is a condition to remove all of that prior to issuance of grading permit. So
Okay.
those are just to identify existing conditions, if that makes sense.
Okay, right, I saw that. That's why it threw me off a little bit when I saw chain link. Thank you. And are they gonna pave the road? That's also part of the upgrades, right?
Correct,
It just shows gravel here because that's what's there now.
at the moment.
Right, okay.
Commissioner,
Oh.
Hammond?
Could you put up the site plan? You had the site plan and the landscaping plan on the screen. Could you put that back up? Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I do know and appreciate that staff answered and considered all the recommendations after we rolled you over a few times. I know. But if you knew this commission, we were probably pretty nice. So, landscaping. Now, I think we talked about number 34. Just help me out. The employee amenities. Now, obviously, where were you, based upon the site plan, where would the employee amenity be based upon the site plan that you were seeing now? About what location, or would it be inside the headquarters building? Where would, and I don't know if I should be asking that, but it's not showing here, or is it showing? And I'm just not seeing it.
It's not reflected just right now on the site plan, but staff will work with the applicant
Okay.
on finding a location for a nice trellis patio with benches and a table underneath.
Okay. Yeah, because okay. You're proposing, and I'm probably jumping the gun, if you look at the gravel on the, I guess that would be the western part of it. It's basically gravel, and you're going to have some landscaping there. So there's a lot of, and we're talking about what, 12%? 13%?
13.8%.
Okay, so obviously, well, 13.8. Two little brand new pebbles.
Things of grass.
Yeah. Little square. So that area is available for that type of thing. Now, obviously, the detention basin or whatever basin is in the front. So this area is just kind of free area. I'm
Correct,
taking,
sir.
yeah. So you're talking about potential areas for seating or things like that, unless they had some other use for it. Since I'm assuming also that the fire department want a walkway around, a concrete walkway around, because that's almost a guarantee you have to have some walkway.
Yes, and that clarification was.
Yeah. They're not gonna let that go by. But that gravel area is some potential for, I would assume, for landscaping. And I have no problem with the project. And some of the things that you've chosen, the trees are perfect. I mean, this is perfect landscaping. But there's some area, I guess, for some wiggle room, potential wiggle room, that we can come to the developer with. But I think there's a lot of area that's just kind of there. So if we were talking, if there was any discussion about that, I think when they proposed it, I think they're just proposing to put gravel there, right? And then a few plants along the side. So, that 13% is there, but I know. But other than that, I think you met, and I looked at all of it, all the questions and things that were answered, and I appreciate it. And that was pretty much it. My concerns, and obviously the issue with 26, it's just been clarified, so I do appreciate that. So may ask that one for the developer, but I'm pretty much through with staff for me.
Can you describe what communications you had with the applicant with the quantity of landscaping?
Yeah, Alfred and I spoke with the applicant. They clarified the landscaping is 13% now. They're open to adding more if needed. If need be, you can speak directly with the applicant, Brian Carter. I think today he's chosen, if you ask a question, he'll be speaking on behalf for the project versus their engineer. But you can clarify with that with the applicant.
Okay, thank you. In the landscape plan, we have 21 spaces. Do we have the correct number of 24-inch box
Shade
trees
trees.
for? We should have 4, right?
I think we calculated it was 5 or 6 that would have been.
Yeah, the trees, I believe 1 per every 5 or 1 for every 6 parking spaces, and they have 5 right now in the parking lot. And
Okay, I see 5. That's all the questions I have for staff at this moment. Any further questions for staff?
I would like to have them clarify, because they increased the landscaping. Do you know what the increase would be in? Would be in trees, some of the shrubs? Did they specify what the increased landscaping would entail?
No, I would think that the engineer would consult with the landscape architect to see where they can add more in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. In, I do have Attorney Brian Carter, the applicant, wishing to speak as well. If you would like to do a presentation as well, please. Yeah. Sure.
I wasn't aware that Alfredo was going to be here, kind of giving a kind of a rundown of what occurred at our last hearing, when we had a little bit of a conflict of plans, which made it difficult for the committee to determine the calculations and yada yada. So I first wanted to apologize for taking up the committee's valuable time. So we do appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come back today and address those issues. So as Mr. Garcia, correct his last name? Mr. Garcia mentioned, we did address basically every issue that was presented, and I went through each comment of the March 3rd meeting minutes, and I just wanted to briefly summarize some of the top points that are in the minutes, and also points that the committee had made that I thought were very important. Quick background, I am an attorney, I am the legal representative, I'm the applicant. This lady behind me, Ellie Taj, she is the owner. She owns the adjacent property. She also has a CPA firm, which is great because we are one of the dispensaries, Green Kong, that is always reporting and paying our taxes to the city on time, right? So she's very helpful to that extent. That being said, just a quick, brief kind of, overview of Green Kong. We basically started there. It was a dump site. We ended up altering a manufactured home into a dispensary. The grading, the parking, the parking lot lights, the ADA ramps. We also had to do street improvements. I'm not sure. I know I saw some of the committee members actually drove by. I saw a comment in the meeting minutes before the last presentation. But where we're located is a very interesting part of town. It's like Paris was kind of confused on which direction they were going, so it like dead ends. But it's I can't tell you like the extensive amount of conversations that I myself and our whole engineer team have had with John, with Stuart, with Habib before that. So it's been a ton of interaction to make sure that the city is getting what they want in terms of the functionality and the utility of that space. And we're able to obviously provide it. With respect to the dispensary, before we were issued our occupancy license, one of the requirements was street improvements as well to the half width, which was the 33 feet is half width on Old Oleander. We put in the half width, beautiful new concrete. A previous developer, I think Chadwick, or a big developer in that area, and that I think it's called the Parkway Commerce Business, zone. And that's important because of the aesthetics, which one of you mentioned I'm going to address in just a minute. But we did do the pavement down to the half width, driveway, 6-inch curbs, Riverside standard, 6-foot sidewalks, landscape, the water basins. I mean, it was a lovely job. And the engineer team over here had a lot to do with it. And we're eternally grateful for that, because we ultimately did get our occupancy, and we're just over 1 year celebrating since our grand opening. Now, with respect to specific comments, beautification. So we're all about beautification, okay? None of us like ugly things. We, just by, I believe, having our adjacent dispensary there, it brought a lot of value in terms of that location, because now you don't have a dirt kind of mumbo jumbo, containers and basically like a dump yard. At least with respect to the dispensary, it's paved, it looks nice, it's inviting, so we intend to do the exact same thing to the committee's satisfaction on the adjacent lot. So color palette. My wife happens to be a designer. We took it upon ourselves the other day to drive around in that business district to take some photos of some of the buildings nearby. I agree, the gray tones seem to be the ones that people are using. So we are completely amenable to color palettes and all of that stuff. No issue whatsoever. Gray, purple, you got it, so no issue with that whatsoever, okay? Maintenance, absolutely. You hit the maintenance. We use this kind of jargon in law, specificity, right? So the language in the COA is so vague. It's like, what does 1 year of maintenance mean? Well, I can tell you what it means with our other landscaper. He never came back a kid, and I'm out there weed whacking. No, but I do understand that, and we are amenable to any kind of additional language that would tend to make it very apparent to both parties what our responsibilities and duties are for upkeep of maintenance, whether it's in the public right-of-way or on our own property. Like I said, none of us want an ugly-looking business, and so we are all for that. Okay. Another issue, Mr. Garcia kind of addressed landscape. Yes, we did get the landscape up a percent. It might not have been a whole bunch, but I'll give you a little bit of background why there seems to be kind of an issue on landscape. So what had been occurring over the last 6 months, even a year, this pandemic seemed to have kind of made the last year fly by. We were going back and forth between 10-foot and 7-foot setbacks on the structure. So for example, planning or safety, and don't fault me if I'm referencing the wrong department, because that's not what really matters. One department wanted 10, another 7, so it was like a back and forth thing. So that's kind of why we just said, all right, let's lay some gravel there. We're not quite exactly sure. Maybe they're going to want us to move it this way or that way again, but it's definitely something that we're happy to work with. And if it's about, landscape or foliage or what have you, like I said, we are more than happy to do whatever the committee or the city would have us do. Another important comment that was made, and I believe it was you, ma'am, that was talking about the wall, right? The wall. So at the dispensary, which it's along the same exact street, the conditions of approval required one of those like I think they're called pilaster walls, where it's like the cement and then it's up 3 feet, and then it's got the iron kind of on top. So when we did our initial plans, we figured that, maybe it was bad logic, but that we would want the fence to come all the way down through the adjacent property, so it seemed kind of seamless. But after doing a little visual inspection in the area and seeing how some of these other warehouses have been built recently, I do see where you're coming from in terms of moving the wall back. And so although in that projection there doesn't appear to be an update on the rendering, there was one, and I had my wife, and I made a copy for everybody, just kind of give you an idea of what we could do with the walls. For example, a lot of those distribution centers, they want basically, it's a parking lot, the structure, and everything else is walled, so you can't see what's behind them. And in this case, I think that makes a lot of sense, particularly because the type of business, and I think where you are coming from is that from a public vantage point, you don't want some stragglers going, wow, look at that, a greenhouse full of stuff that we can go and, cause havoc. So we're on the same page, and, so we don't want that either. The good thing is where that particular parcel is situated, it's difficult to see, I can tell you that right now, because that particular section of Old Oleander that kind of dead ends, it starts to crumble in front of this development lot that we're here, discussing tonight. So it's not a popular area for, people walking by and whatnot. If anything, I think people are lost and, they're on their Google Maps trying to figure out how to get back out of there. But in terms of the wall, if I may, I don't know if I can approach the, and this is just for purposes of an idea, if that's what you're looking for, because I think you want to block the view of the greenhouse to the extent possible while still keeping it. And ignore the colors, just an idea of moving that wall back, and which is consistent with the site plans, by the way, the location, okay? As I mentioned a few minutes ago, initially we had it lined up with our original wall. So, yeah, so it's something that we can totally modify so that it basically fits your wishes, okay, to the extent that you would like it. So no issues with the wall whatsoever. Whatever you all want, we want, okay? The tent goes along with the beautification, right? So we agree. I think that was a fabulous idea, and I think that's something that we would have probably came into at some point in the project, and either, came to the city or talked to our assigned planner and whatnot. But I think it's a lovely idea to actually kind of, I think will eliminate kind of the attention that just a clear glass may get. That would go in terms of not just the beautification, but the security along with the wall. So all of these things are in line to accomplish the same thing that I believe the committee wants to accomplish. Okay, all right. Just a couple more points, and I'll turn it over. There was some questions regarding security and surveillance, so I want to just kind of clarify. Kenneth mentioned it. Now, the conditional use permits basically are processed, I believe, through the planning department, but we have an extensive surveillance plan for the business operation within the structure. BCC's requirements are, I mean, unheard of, okay? So surveillance plan, security plan, it's all part of the operation of the business within that facility. So you can be assured that if the DPR is approved and the business is allowed to operate, that it will be in compliance with BCC's very heavily regulated requirements when it comes to, 24-hour security, cameras at every inch of the building, inside and out, and you name it. So that's something that has already been prepared, and we hired, and this is our second time doing this, a specialist in security and surveillance diagram companies to prepare that for us. So just kind of wanted to put that out there just in case there was concerns about that. Other than that, I think I pretty much addressed everything. All I would say is, with respect to the the business Green Kong, we have gone through HDL inspections where we've gotten a very clean bill of health. I work with Ernie. I've been forging relationships with as many members of the city as I can. I'm a native Californian, and actually I love this city. It's cool to see how it's kind of transitioning from a country west, and maybe a lot of you want it to stay that way, but to a little bit more of a kind of happening, hustling, buzzing city. So we just want to make sure that we're in line with the general idea and plan and future vision of your city, okay? And we are not here to disrupt that. None of us come from a cannabis, underground background, okay? I was in development. My dad was a commercial broker. Ellie, who I met by happen chance, runs a very successful accounting firm for just the blue-collar worker down in San Diego. So we come from that perspective, and so we want, obviously, what's best for the city and just continue to create a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think I would finish up with that.
Thank you very much for those clarifications. Got questions for the applicant? Commissioner Jimenez?
They have another presentation, did they?
That was it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was-
sorry,
that
I
was
didn't
it.
have a PowerPoint.
Yeah, no, that was it.
Sorry about that. No.
Oh, we lost our picture here. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I believe the IT is just trying to get that handout that was given
Back
to
on
on the
there.
screen, that's all.
Oh,
Back
okay.
on.
Okay.
Not for, that's for everybody else to visualize, not us.
Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. Okay.
I know his password now, so.
And I know he knows that.
I got his password now.
Let's check his
We're good.
email.
Only things we should see, not what we shouldn't see.
Yeah, right.
You guys did remove the gate in front of the property, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was alleviating one of my issues with the trash enclosure being behind the gate, so that
Absolutely.
solves that issue
Absolutely.
on my end. And I didn't speak of that last meeting as well, so that's good.
Yep, absolutely. We addressed that. And like I said, we were trying to kind of, we had the idea that we were kind of continue on the same framework from the adjacent property, which is the fence was required up front and then the gate. No problems, just that's what we thought, the committee would want. So yeah, we did address that. And yeah, my wife, I said, hey, I need a wall up, She says, how long till I need to have it done? I said, an hour. I need to give the commission an idea because, so it's not, this isn't by any means, a final, perfected rendering, but I just wanted to touch on the different options that I think could make sense if we're looking for security. And also I heard from when you were addressing the other item on the agenda tonight, this structure can be used for countless businesses, and so I think that's very positive. The improvements really are improvements that can cross many levels of or many industries, so to speak, and absolutely beautify the area. We're actually really excited to start working on that asphalt. Let me tell you, because it will make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. We appreciate the clarification. And it happens, where's nobody's perfect, it happens. And we appreciate you coming back and doing it. I think you find this commission is one of the most amenable ones. There are some that you want to forget about. But at least we want to get it right, and because of the area. You are right that that area is kind of, even the fact it's still called Oleander, for those of us that were several years ago on this thing, Oleander has been long gone. But I had to take a look. Wait a minute, Oleander still? Oh yeah, so there's a little cul-de-sac ending. So whatever improves that streeting, things like that, is important. But I think you've answered the issues, and I think some of the things I think that's not the color. That's the previous one, right?
That's the previous.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
It
okay.
just has the wall in front of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't update the colors or anything for us.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Applicant didn't have time to.
Okay. I think one of the things they're amenable to, I think, was the gravel that was there, and I think, and I understand because having worked for city government for a long time, you're gonna get confused. We're never on the same page, no matter what city it is. I worked in LA; nobody was ever on the same page in the same department, 2 feet away from the person. So that's just the case. You have to try to figure it out. But that's a lot of extra space that possibly could be utilized for some interest. And I'm assuming that's not too much of an issue since it is.
Nope.
There's no permanent thing there that you're proposing. So there's some gravel there, and that's good. But that's, and I think it becomes part of Paris Valley specific. And we're kind of looking at upgrades in those areas, and every project now gets the same scrutiny.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
it's small, it's great, and like that. I didn't know that you owned the one that was right next door
Yeah.
to it. But the street improvements obviously are needed because
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of dirt all towards the end, and
Absolutely.
any improvement is a better improvement, pretty much.
Any improvements,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, I appreciate that. The only question is, does the car come with this? You have a car in the picture. So she wants blue, she wants gray, I want black. Okay. So otherwise, we're wasting our
You
time.
could throw it in a hat, Yeah, totally amenable to whatever,
Okay.
color scheme. And if I
Okay.
may just make one
Sure,
comment, I think it's very
sure.
important about actually that kind of dead-end area.
Mm-hmm.
I learned through going through this development on the adjacent project that one of the landowners, he's got a land, basically he's landlocked but for that kind of dead-end thing. So it seems to me that there's an issue of it, private landowners potentially needing to dedicate, a portion, or maybe I was going to reach out to that landowner. For example, if we're required to go to half width and he's not developing, then that would give us a half of a street, and I'm going to see if we can't, depending on what the committee wants, get him in the loop so that we can actually have a working together with the gentleman that's, I believe, lived there for quite some time and has an interest, and not saying that it's a controlling interest, but we would serve, I think, the purpose if we were working together and you know, wanting the same things. Because in the last couple of years that I've been, you know, going through planning and engineering and whatnot, I can tell you that the plan changed at least 5 times. Knuckle, cul-de-sac, dead end, straight through, train, I mean, you name it, okay? So we're happy to you know, basically fulfill the city's wishes. But I just wanted to point that out because my understanding is at some point in that road area, that property owner has some sort of, I believe he encroaches on it in some, you all probably know more than I do, but it was on my things to do, right, list to reach out to him and maybe get an idea of what he wanted to do. So just putting it out there for some point in the future, because I think it is a relevant point in terms of, you know, ingress and egress, right? And for example, where that kind of curve is, it's like, do you want people that, you know, that are just driving through to go down to the end and, oh, you know, dead end and turn around, or do we want to kind of, you know, have it basically knuckled right there and then make it, and then so that it can maintain it as the gentleman's private property, and we can you know, so there's options. But I think it's just an important consideration because it is a difficult little scenario there. But in terms of our team, we've done plans for every option there is, okay? So we'll go anyway.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, further questions for staff or the applicant?
I do. So I like the wall in front of the roll-up door because safety. I don't want that roll-up door to open and everybody runs in thinking it's, you know, shopping time. It's Black Friday.
Absolutely.
I would like to see maybe like a wrought iron with some landscaping in front of it, instead of just that. The colors that you chose for the plants are beautiful. I think with the gray colors, it's really going to be a really beautiful building. So
Yes.
maybe some wrought iron with a, you know, way to open it so that the van can get in, and adding a little bit of landscape to the front. But this is, I really don't know. Is there any risk for greenhouses to catch on fire? Because I'm thinking, can the fire department get back there in case of an emergency?
Yes, so I was always taught to say, not to say great question, but that was a great question. Nonconformist, what can I say? No, yeah, absolutely. So with respect to, and this, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I think this is actually important. So this ties into why fire included their conditions in the conditions of approval, because there are various options for fire, and I know that typically there is, all right, this is the way we're doing it, committee looks at it, bam, we're done. But because of the nature of the structure and the setbacks, and ultimately what engineering is going to require, my understanding from Dennis is that he needs to understand exactly what's going to be required from engineering. For example, I'll give you a great solution, right? Since Ellie owns the adjacent property, we can dedicate or grant an irrevocable pertinent easement, right, on
That's
the
what I was
adjacent line.
thinking.
So there's
Yeah.
like, because right in between, all it is, and I don't know if it was pre-existing or not, but it's just a wrought iron gate that separates the two parcels. And that next to that gate is basically up towards the front is a water filtration basin for the dispensary water quality management. That's kind of the flow line. Similarly, as you see on these other plans, there's 2 basins, and we went back and forth between 1 and 2, but I believe that the flow line's similar. But absolutely no issue with respect to having access right through there on our, you know, on the adjacent parcel, and we've discussed it, and we actually, Ellie signed a declaration attesting to such that, you know, if that's the solution, if he needs to get behind, no problem. We did revise the site plans to eliminate the confusion about the 20 and the 26. So if you guys can see that, you know, sorry, you all, not you guys, apologize. You all can see that the fire can come in, but in terms of the back, if that's something that he or fire determines is necessary, we have a solution, and there's even more solutions. But absolutely, the first thing that came to my head is, well, why don't we just grant him an easement, irrevocable? They'll run with the land, and then bam. So,
Good if you have the space for it, because I didn't know how close that other building was to
Yeah.
this lot, to where there may not be a passage, but if there is, because I don't know if they're gonna be put on
Yeah.
tables and that's where
Yeah.
the plants are, if they're on the floor, plastic
Yeah.
containers, black bags, like, I don't know how.
Yeah, actually, the dispensary is located on the west side of that
Oh, okay.
that parcel. So and then in front of the dispensary is parking, the ADA ramp, ADA spot, and then basically just a regular sized parking lot for 9-10 stalls, whatever it is. Our ADA trash can, beautiful, by the way, beautiful, beautiful, seriously. And then on the left side, due to the flow line, that is basically just was left graded nicely. And then ultimately it leads to, in the front northeastern section of the Green Kong parcel, water filtration basin. So
Okay.
it's actually ripe for a pertinent easement. I mean, you
Right.
couldn't ask for a better, lane, really.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely. So,
that's just my question, thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jimenez has additional questions for you.
Sorry, they come to me sometimes.
We're having fun.
Right, I'm on a roll today. So I noticed there's only one toilet. I don't know the fancy word for toilet. So,
Neither do I.
I don't know if there's a fancy word for it. So, is that enough? I know that they're not, it's not expected that there's gonna be a lot of people on site. I don't know if there's a requirement for how many stalls or, potties there are per person.
Actually,
You can
there
tell
is.
I'm a teacher, it's a potty, I should have said
Yeah.
potty.
You know what? That is one answer that I do not have off the top of my head, but one point that does kind of lead me to is exactly what you mentioned. This is not a site where we're open to public,
Right.
like public are parking in and out. This is simply a warehouse
Yeah.
that is
It's
going to have
employees. Yeah.
limited people there at the same time, maybe 8 people, So based on the traffic, next door and the one ADA, bathroom, I would assume that would be sufficient, but I don't see that being an issue if we have to throw another stall in there. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's, my experience, there's a calculation for that, and I'm not here to plan check it, so, and I gotta tell myself sometimes that.
That's not your group today.
I'm on the other side of the fence like you are now a lot, being an architect. Yeah, I mean, if you calculate the square footage and the restrooms, you may have to add another stall or another bathroom or something, but that's not this part of the,
Yeah, that would make
the
me
stage
happy.
that we're working on, so.
Even with just, a household of 4 people, you usually need 2 restrooms.
Absolutely.
So I would strongly encourage a second restroom. Just, you never know. Everybody has the same thing for lunch and it doesn't sit well. You never know.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I just, really quickly, I just don't want to get away from the main project. All these questions are great. Sometimes we just need to leave this to the plan check process. And I appreciate those comments, but I think we want to just focus on the details of it, if that's possible.
Yep. So I have one question. When you do investigate the additional area and canopy or awning for the staff to sit out outside, can you also investigate adding another 1 or 2% of landscaping? The 1% of landscaping is only 358 square feet or such. It's not a lot, but you definitely have the area to investigate that in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you kind of pointed out the gravel. The one thing that I know is a word that has implication is whether a surface is pervious or not, okay? So we know gravel is pervious, so we, kind of put it out there that way. It really kind of kicked it to you all so that you can kind of figure out exactly what you think works. But I do like the tree idea because in general that creates that privacy.
Yeah.
I planted privacy privets at my home to, block out
Yeah.
the neighbor that's too close, but something that would create the security. And I agree with the back fence and in general all the way around. I think having the type of vegetation, whether it be tree or privets or something that kind of, it eliminates any, any kind of potential for what. So yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions for the applicant?
No, I think he's answered all of them. I think we, just to clarify for all of these, particularly the cannabis, when we look at these, we look at not only the aesthetic beauty of fences and things, but also security of personnel. So when we go on people about fences, we're also thinking about, because we're parish commissioners, we're thinking of the public, their security. So if you have a 4-foot wall, I'm going to jump over it. Okay. So if you have a secure area, then it's thinking in terms of the employees. And amenities are something we take into consideration on all projects, industrial or not. We look for amenities area because obviously, we've been to some places. Home Depot has barbecue pits and things. Come on, they're going to live there.
Yeah, they get away with it somehow too.
But I mean, it was an elaborate
like-
basketball court, and I started asking,
Yeah.
let me just come there and forget about
Oh,
this.
right.
But he's spending that kind of money. But the idea is that you want some amenities, and if you work in something like that, it gets hot in the summer. It does get hot in the summer here, and you can see it gets cold in the winter. So just those kind of things. So we look at fences not just because we, I just want a stone fence. We look at fences in sense of security for the personnel and the aesthetic beauty, and it's part of that Parish Valley thing. So if we can look at increases and things like that in that area, we just don't settle for things. That's why I add property maintenance things. It would be overlooked by staff, but then we're not staff.
Yep.
So we're looking at it above and beyond.
Absolutely.
So think of it that way on projects. We're thinking, she's really into the
Yep.
building, but that helps because that's why we're here.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the reason. So we're not to pick on.
No problem. Actually, public safety
Yeah.
and welfare
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
always with everything we consider
Yeah.
and do.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult to pick up on that during this process, starting with Green Kong from the ADA. I mean, I was down there on my knees. I bought my own electronic grade measurer to make sure I was under that 2%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're all about public safety, and it's a common, obviously, policy across my, line of work,
Yeah.
and definitely important for us here because we actually want to contribute and not only contribute to the community, which we do, but we want to kind of serve as a role model so that if there are other similar organizations or entities that are looking to kind of do what we're doing, they can see how it's done correctly, and that's tantamount to us.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, for your time and
Thank you.
explanations.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll open up for public comment at this time. Any member of the public wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment and just bring it to the discussion for planning commissioners. Commissioner Hernandez,
Yeah, no comments for me.
Commissioner Hammond, or
Yeah, real short, completely satisfied, and that's unusual for me, I know. But completely, I think we answered all the questions, and it's just those little minor things of adding. But again, the project stands on its own, and we appreciate the presentation. It really clarifies it, and I don't have a problem at this point. Any more questions? I think it's been answered tonight thoroughly by staff as well. We always pick on staff. We appreciate it. But thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Same, I think all our questions and concerns were answered. I appreciate that the applicant is open to the landscaping and beautifying. Just where the gravel's in the back by those trees, maybe a little walkway or something. Because gravel, when you're walking with heels, sometimes isn't the safest. I don't know that people would be, but, So just a little walkway in the back or something, just, especially once it gets dark with a little bit of lighting in the back. But other than that, all my questions were answered. They were prepared took everything we said last time.
Yeah, I do like the architecture. The colors need still to be worked on, of course, but I do like the architecture. It suits the property well, that's in there. I do like the little balcony that's on the second floor that can oversee what's the parking lot. I do wish the applicant to enhance a little bit further the amount of landscaping that we have in conjunction with the area that's going to be used for the staff break area, exterior break area. Other than that, I don't see any further issues. All of our items were addressed and included into the conditions of approval. So I'm fine. So if we can have a motion in inclusion to further enhance a little bit of the landscaping more than 13.8.
Sure, we can include that part of condition 34 that we added with the employee amenity.
Okay?
And for the restroom, you said that's part of the code checking, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's part of the code requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I get stuck with looking at stuff like, oh, yeah, ADA, oh, yep. I have.
Yeah, I've been with ADA officer, trust me, it's a nightmare.
And I just got to look at it. It's like, yeah, it's not through plan check yet. So I'm,
It was not part of the COA. I think he was talking about easements and things like that, but that's a discussion for, I don't know that should be brought up, or that's a discussion for something in the future with staff, okay? Because that was, it makes sense, but we can't, it wasn't part of the, so, that makes sense. But anyway, you ready?
Yes. If we,
That was the only addition, right? Was the
Yeah, that's only.
landscape? Okay,
Yeah, they addressed everything else last time.
right, okay. Sorry, Commissioner Hammond, gotta say it.
We got a motion from Vice Chair Hammond, and we need a second.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I just want to clarify the motion. It's the motion to approve with the condition 34 modification to further enhance the landscaping. That's the only one?
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
We couldn't have said it any better.
Well, is that part of the conditions or is
That is in the conditions currently.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the wall is in specifically condition for what they're shown, but we can just add that there will be a solid screen wall along the,
Wall or gate or something?
yeah. They do show a fence, but it's not specifically a wall. But if you want specifically a wall, and I think the applicant is willing to work with us, you want to specifically identify that you can.
Let them work with us.
I'm okay with a gate if it's a bit of landscaping in front to kind of just block the view. I'm okay with that. So whatever staff thinks looks best,
Okay, we can just work with the applicant. I think
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
room for that.
okay.
So, Mr. Chair, just to clarify the motion is to, motion to approve with the addition of the further enhancing the landscaping as part of condition 34, and also a condition to work with staff relating to a solid screen wall or something of that nature. Is that correct?
Right, would that be additional COA or condition of approval, or that we would put that under the fencing wall?
We can just add another condition, if that makes it easier. That probably makes it easier to follow.
Okay, so 35.
Do you still stand with your motion?
Yeah,
Okay. We need a second.
It's only three of us, guys.
We got four. Good.
Hernandez, I'll second.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We got a second from Commissioner Hernandez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes?
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes,
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With the vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to item 8, business item. There are none at this time, so we can move to item 9. Public comments. Anybody that wish to address the Planning Commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it to item 10, Planning Commissioners, members and announcements and reports. Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any announcements?
Nothing to report on my end.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jimenez?
I just wanted to note that driving in today, it was very nice to see that the Bob Glass Jim is vaccinating and having
Yes.
COVID tests for our community or anybody else. I just wanted to remind that that's a resource as well as the Paris Fairgrounds. I'm really happy that we have a lot of sites within our city. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hammond.
Yes, it's a lot of things happening in the city. You may not realize, but if you drive around it enough, you see it. Getz Road, again, is really doing well, and I'm sure you'll be benefiting for that one. Chick-fil-A, I finally got 2 or 3 times. Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow, 2 or 3 times.
I beat
in
the
2 weeks.
lines though, but it's still a lot of lines. But I mean, that just shows you Paris is really not what it used to be. It's on the map. It's people are coming here. And I'm sure there's going to be other things coming here. But yeah, it's really nice to know that in the midst of all this other stuff, there's positive things going on. It's that quick quack part thing is starting to. Jeez.
Down off Case Road.
Yeah, if I could say it, it would be just good enough. I could say it. Quick quack. Yeah. Okay. And some other developments are happening, and I think also he may discuss the Placentia I think the city's doing Placentia, right? The city's doing Placentia.
That road.
And, yeah. And that is really long overdue, guys. I mean, we were waiting for that for 30 years. 30 years, guys. But I guess 30 years is enough time. So but really happy to see that because that'll take a lot of the traffic congestion off. So I'm really good to see it. But other than that, I think we're onward. I'm glad to see the fostering doing the shots. I probably need to get some shots myself if I ever do it. I'm waiting for all the reactions from people. Then they don't drop dead, then I'll probably do it. But good, thanks.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's many vaccination places here in the city of Paris that are currently going on. Would it be possible for us to get an update of some of the more recent projects, where they're at in the construction process, planning process as well? Some of the more current ones. I know we got a lot of stuff going on. It is definitely nice to see the continuation of Getz Road being widened and repaved, which would be great. Lots of potholes out there. And then it's more restaurants are coming in, which is great to see as well. I got some people that are trying to bring restaurants and stuff to the northwest or northeast part of town, which is what we need up in that area. I'm sure the people will enjoy potentially a Denny's restaurant up there, which would be great. So, thank you. If we can move to item 11, developer development services.
Yes, good evening, Chairman Shavley, members of the Planning Commission. It's a good time right now. COVID, we're in the red tier now. We moved from purple tier to red tier. So I think the current rate is, we were at the peak, we were like at 22% of the people who tested were positive. We're down to about 3.7%. I think as long as we maintain that 3.7%, we go down to another tier, I believe. So those are very good positive news. Other positive news is that some of our departments that provide customer service, such as our Development Services Department for Planning and Building, is effective on Monday. We'll have at least, the doors will be open. We'll still have limited staff just because we're not quite out of the woodwork yet with the pandemic. But we'll have at least one person available in all the departments, in each individual department, such as planning or building, one individual available for service, which is good news for those who need to come in. And whereas in the past people had to make private arrangements, or they just had to use a courier to submit plans. So those are good news just for the development community to be able to reach us a little bit better. On another front, just with for your planning for the next meeting, we're pretty busy. We'll have a planning commission April 7th. So just put that on your calendar. Beyond that, I have no further updates. I will turn that over, this presentation, if Candida has any additional news she would like to share. But with that said, I have no further updates.
Thank you, sir.
The only update that I have, and I want to get the number right, because we did, with the 1.1, 11.9 trillion dollar budget, we got our application for it, and it is, we will be getting an allocation of over 2 years, and it'll be, oh, I have my notes right. 20 million?
23 million, yeah.
Well,
23 million.
29.
I think it's 23.
I thought it was
Well,
29,
23
23
and 29 would match.
million. Anyway, anyway, 2.9. We'll go with 2.9. But
Those
it'll be
funds-
over 2 years, and we're really excited about it.
And those funds can be used for what?
That we can use it for anything except that's our public improvements, that are real physical improvements and purchases. So we can't use it to pay off the PERS debt or to do that kind of thing, financial sort of things, but no, yeah, it's like physical improvement, so it's really a wonderful investment, yeah. So, anyway, it's exciting, yeah.
That's good to hear. Anything further?
And that's it.
No, Robert, you want to?
Robert, you're not gonna give any money? You're not gonna tell any
Can you top that? If there are none, if we can move to item 12, adjournment. I'll be, you can make a motion for myself.
Yeah.
Just- You can pick yourself. Ryan.
It was, I thought it was
Ryan's got
20.
the power. Thank you.